Hello, everybody. My name is Kathy Matsui, and it is an honor to be able to speak for the second year in a row at the World FinTech Festival. What I'd like to do for the next few minutes is touch on three topics. First of all, discuss a little bit about what I'm doing now post Goldman Sachs, which is I, along with two partners, Yumiko Murakami and Miwa Seki, we launched Japan's first ESG-focused global venture capital fund in May of this year. Second, I wanted to explain a little bit more about why ESG. And third, discuss in particular what we're focused on in our fund, which is why ESG for startups. So let me begin by explaining a little bit about our MPower Partners fund. As I said, we are Japan's first ESG-focused venture capital fund. After a nearly 27-year career at Goldman Sachs, working in research, the entire career that I've had in sell-side research was dedicated to analyzing the Japanese equity market and Japanese corporations. I found over that time that when you delve deep into issues, structural issues that were challenging to the market, such as corporate governance practices or diversity matters, that there was a lot of increased understanding about how important these issues were to address. But I also found that as an outsider looking into large Japanese corporates, it was not an easy task to change these large organizations that had long histories and very embedded cultures in terms of incorporating fully ESG principles. It is our team's view, though, that for Japan to really grow, it absolutely needs more innovation. And therefore, our fund's mission is to help innovative companies, particularly those that are using technology to drive that innovation, for them to achieve sustainable growth and have positive social and environmental impact through ESG integration was going to be key. My second point is on why ESG. Well, as many of you know, ESG has become quite a popular term all around the world, and Japan is no exception. As of now, there is about 35 trillion US dollars of assets linked to ESG or sustainability globally. That is about 1/3 of all assets under management in the world today. And the projection is for that amount to grow another 15 to 20 trillion dollars just in the next few years to 2025. Now, as you all know, ESG kind of emerged initially from Europe, made its way to the United States, and more recently came here to Japan. Japan is, however, in the past few years, one of the fastest growing ESG markets. So the question is why? What's led to this explosion? Well, one explanation, I believe, is that in the past, ESG was kind of associated with lower returns, or there's a performance trade-off. But in recent years, we've actually seen quite the opposite. Even pre the pandemic, if you look at sustainability or ESG linked assets and their performance, they have significantly outperformed other assets in those same markets. I believe also that this world that is facing enormous challenges related to climate change, or frankly, the COVID pandemic, is reinforcing the fact that enterprises today must take heed not just of their stakeholders' interests, but of all stakeholder interests, including employees, the community, your supply chain, etc. And that is what I think is led to this enormous growth in ESG assets overall. Finally, in terms of why ESG for startups, we have come across the reaction, for instance, to our fund along the lines of, Kathy, even large listed companies are still struggling to embrace fully ESG principles. How on earth do you expect startups with very tight resources to do the same? Well, first of all, we are not expecting startups to do everything that large companies are doing with respect to ESG. But we believe startups, being younger, being smaller, and being more nimble than their larger company peers, makes it actually easier for them to integrate ESG values into their DNA when they're what we call teenagers, as opposed to fully formed adults. We believe that ESG integration with startups can lead to A, lower cost of capital, B, better overall performance, discovery of new markets, C, and very importantly, better recruitment of the best talent. I don't need to tell you this, but in this global war for talent, what does the younger generation want in an employer? It is not just about compensation or title. It is about purpose. What is this company's purpose on earth, and what is my role in fulfilling that purpose? So if you don't have that solidly, nailed down as part of your overall culture or your ESG framework as a company, I think it will be very challenging actually to recruit people, the best people, going forward. So in our view, ESG for startups is actually the right time, because if we can embed these important principles of caring about the impact you're having on the environment, of concerning yourself with the well-being of your employees, about data security and privacy, about product safety, about your supply chain, human rights matters, and of course, governance, and particularly diversity. Unless you have what I think are pretty obvious values and principles embedded in your organization, I think it's very difficult to succeed and perform or outperform the competition going forward. So we're very excited by the fact that we get to examine many, many exciting startups, not just here in Japan, but we're also investing abroad with this ESG framework in mind. And while we were the first ESG-focused venture capital fund, we certainly hope we won't be the last. Thank you very much.